Hello, and welcome to the Smart Injury Doctors Podcast, the injury market's top program for doctors, lawyers, and insurers who want to gain greater insight on how to improve patient recovery results and deliver better services in the U.S. injury market. Please welcome your host, Dr. Jeffrey Allen Kronk.
Hey doctors, what I want to talk today about is analysis or paralysis by analysis, actually, and that's overthinking things. I have a Smart Injury Doctors program. We help doctors to become the leading expert in their communities in spinal ligament injuries. And I have my son, Isaiah Kronk. He happens to be our director of marketing for Smart Injury Doctors. He helps on coaching calls. He helps doctors to become more known. You know, we're a group that says, hey, the best doctors should be the most known doctors. They should be the busiest doctors. And we were just talking this morning, and he brought up so many good points. He brought up a number of good points. And I think, I just wanted to go, hey, let's do a podcast on that. Because, since you've been here, Isaiah, you've kind of, first went, okay, what are we even really doing here? And then having to learn about the injuries themselves. And then one of the things I've said that, is it's going to be kind of shocking, like how doctors won't just take a position. They'll hold back, and even on the coaching calls.
Yeah, and a lot of times what I notice is doctors are usually very hesitant to get started. And what it looks like is they're like, I want to keep going through the material. I have to be the smartest guy in the room. I have to know this so down packed so that there's no attorney or no MD that can poke any holes into what I'm saying. And a lot of times what these doctors don't realize is that they're already so many pages ahead in the book. They're already going to be perceived as experts just by knowing what they already know.
Right, because one of the things we say is we're positioning them for a market where there is no competition. So they're not competing with anybody, right? But that's a little foreign to them at first, isn't it? I mean, your experience, it's like, that's foreign.
Oh, totally. And when they... And when they make the connection of that, and all it really takes is to do one attorney presentation for them to realize it, is that they already are the experts. I brought this up with one of our doctors on a coaching call recently, and it's a great reference from a movie I really like called Catch Me If You Can. But in the movie, Leonardo DiCaprio is playing a criminal, and he's forging checks, and he's going around the country pretending to be people he's not. And there's a few scenes in the movie where he's pretending to be a college professor. And when they finally catch him, they ask him, how did you go so long as a college professor and never get caught? And he said, all I ever had to do was read one chapter ahead of the students, and they believed that I was the professor. And a lot of times the doctors we work with, doctors that I talk to on a regular basis, feel like they need to be 10 books ahead of people to even have the conversation, when in reality, as long as you're one chapter ahead, you are the expert. You can help that. Your information is valuable. What you're doing is valuable, and you're going to be able to make relationships using it.
Right. So they're worried about, okay, who knows more than they do, or who is the, who's the leader in their area when they're the leader. That's what I loved about when you talked about this morning, because they're already pages ahead. They're already books ahead, but they're still trying to get ahead instead of just going out and assuming the title.
Yeah, and there's an infinite amount, a wealth of information in the world. You're never going to know it all. You're never going to be the person with 100% of the answers on any given subject. But by knowing that one chapter ahead, you can give so much value to these people in your community, whether they be attorneys or MDs or urgent care centers or the fire department or the auto collision center or whoever in your community that you want to help. Your expertise is already a wealth of knowledge, and you can go out and you can create really profitable, productive business relationships with what you already have.
Right. Plus the, all the background and all the materials that we have to, bring the person in and get that person known. When you're coaching right now, because you do some of the coaching calls, when you're coaching, what is the biggest thing that you find with the doctors? Like when you're coaching them, where you're going, okay, this is kind of because you're 25 years old, right?
Yep.
You're looking at it and saying, wow, this is easy. I want you to tell the story of you're just taking this information right now. You've been the last 6 months, 8 months in jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
Right. And just so you don't know my son, but basically when he gets into something, he really gets into it. So it might be, 3 hours a night from 9 until midnight, from 9 until 11, that he's now doing jiu-jitsu, and he super excels at whatever he decides to put his attention on. He always has. So he's now in this jiu-jitsu center. And tell the story.
Yeah, well, and it kind of comes from a lot of these doctors think that it's very complicated to get well known or go out with the information we teach or whatever information and become well known about it. But even
attract new patients.
Yeah,
the ease of just attracting new patients.
Yeah, and I walk into a jiu-jitsu gym, and for those of you who don't know what jiu-jitsu is, it's a form of grappling. It's similar to wrestling, and it's very common for people to have neck injuries or neck pain in the sport. So I just went in and started talking a little bit about spinal kinetics and about excessive motion testing and the ligament injuries. And I'm a layperson. I didn't go to chiropractic school. I didn't even finish marketing school. I'm a college dropout, but I can talk about it. I know enough about it. And within 5 minutes, I had a third of the gym circling around me asking me if they can come in and take x-rays. And I, of course, said, no, I can't take your x-rays. I'm not a chiropractor. I'm not a primary care physician. But it did not take me more than 5 minutes to get 5 potential new patients wanting to come into my quote-unquote clinic to take x-rays and see what's going on in their neck. But the problem that most of these doctors are having, that when either I'm coaching or I'm talking to them, is they just either don't know what to start or what to do to start, or they're just unwilling to take action.
Right, they just don't start.
Yeah, they just don't start.
They just don't start.
And a lot of times it's like they study to start, and they'll read things to start. They'll buy the marketing courses. They'll buy the marketing books. They'll buy the clinical books, and they'll read and read and read and absorb all this information and become a wealth of information, but never take the first step.
Right. So, that's the biggest thing that we get, that really that's the biggest thing I wanted to talk about today was, doctors, it's not hard. It's not hard we show an area where there is no competition. You don't have any competition. So the nice thing is when you're in that area, you're outside of the average. Stop being average. When we talk about in the Smart Injury Doctors program or our spinal injury practice building program, it's based on 4 concepts, 4 things, right? You got to have something unique to offer. That way you're not competing with the rest of the market. You're outside of the average. You got to be able to develop an internal referral machine. That means you're basically taking your activities that you're already doing and you're just getting a lot more out of those activities. That's all that means, right? So it doesn't mean any more time. It doesn't mean any more effort. As a matter of fact, it will create less time and less effort over time. But you got to have somebody that shows you how to do that. Then there's a marketing, which we're talking about today, where you're getting known. You're out there, maybe you're doing an attorney presentation, or maybe you're doing a presentation at a jiu-jitsu gym, right? It doesn't matter where, because chronic low back pain is the number 1 cause of chronic pain and disability in the world today. Chronic neck pain is number 4. Chronic headaches is number 6. So if I just use those 3, there's not going to be enough. There's not enough of me to fill the amount of patient need that there is in that market. And so the biggest thing, and the reason why I wanted to bring on Isaiah today is, I think it's a really interesting thing when you say, how did a con man become a professor? Well, he just stayed a chapter ahead of the students. That was it, right? You come into our program, you study our materials, and you're already a book ahead. You don't need anything more than that, No,
you don't need anything more than that. And the only thing else you have to implement it is the confidence to take action. And it's really, really, really easy. I've set up these calls. I've seen doctors struggle through the presentation and have tons of referrals afterwards. These doctors, as soon as they start taking actions, the results come in almost as if it were magic. But the biggest obstacle to the results are your own inability to take action, and not even inability, your own blockades that you're putting up in your mind to take action.
And I'll tell you what, doctors, that's why we have the coaching. That's why the coaching in our program now we get to the point of, okay, let me push you over the edge. Kid, watch, you can actually fly. All right, it's going to look scary. You look down, you go, oh, damn, that's a long ways down. I don't think I can fly. And then we go, push you right off the edge, and you go, oh my God, I can fly. I have a skill I didn't even know I had. Right? That's the beauty of coaching. Coaching will bring out in you what you might not be able to bring out in yourself. And so always on these podcasts, we just take a short topic, and I wanted to bring Isaiah in because I thought, like I said, we were just having a conversation today in our staff room, and it was like, wow, he brought up this great point about, the guy just being a chapter ahead, and that's how he became a professor. And you are ahead. You are much better than what you're giving yourself credit to be. If you need help in the area, look us up. Look at what we have to offer. Go to smartinjurydoctors.com, or you can call us at 800-940-6513 and find out more about us. Isaiah, I appreciate you being on today. Doctors, I look forward to presenting to you in the future on the next podcast. Thank you.
You've been listening to the Smart Injury Doctors Podcast, the #1 audio production show for professionals in the U.S. injury market that want to deliver better injury services to the patients, clients, or insureds they serve. If you like what you heard today, please leave us a review and don't forget to join us on our next program.